get it right here. Paul Cottrell, Dr. Paul Cottrell. Um, I took little sections of this interview between he and Rex Bear of the LEAP project and condensed it down to the need to know information. So full credit goes to both LEAP project, Rex, and Dr. Paul Cottrell. And until next time, kill the steak, live free.
If you look at these talking heads on the economic shows, like CNBC or even the Asian networks, and they're talking to money managers, it's about how they can make an opportunity or reduce their portfolio risk, or what to invest in because of people dying. It's the karma of this is very bad. When these individuals don't even feel like, they don't even, when they're talking, I don't see a soul in them. I see them just focused on their own little world. Like, don't you realize that if this becomes bad, you may have a loved one that dies? Like, if this projection is correct, 1 out of every 40 people that will be dead. Just think about 40 people that 1 of them will be dead. I think that individuals that are using masks, they need to understand that the masks primarily are not to prevent you from getting sick. It's really from you spreading. Like, for example, why do doctors wear masks in the OR? It's not for the doctors to protecting themselves from a disease from the body that's on the table. It's the disease from the doctor giving it to the patient. So they put masks on to protect the patient. So the individuals around you, all right, this is kind of like a social difference. Individuals that think that they put a mask on, just one of these cloth masks, all right, these 95s or 100s, if they put the cloth mask on, it's really to prevent you from giving other people what you have. Okay, people don't realize that most of these masks aren't sealed. They're not like gas masks. The gas masks protect you from the environment. A really good seal, eyes, ears, nose, the ears, everything, all those orifices. All right. These cloth masks aren't going to, you could easily get something in your ear, and it goes down the eustachian tube and gets into your throat, and you still could get it. All right. Or in your eye. These masks don't have eye coverings. So masks, a lot of people don't realize that if they keep on using the mask, they're breathing in and out from it, and they are in effect making it moist, and mold and bacteria can grow on it. So if you're reusing your mask, especially if supplies are low, you possibly can give yourself an infection that's not even corona, but it could be something even worse. You could give yourself a pneumonia from your own breath. And people don't realize this. So, honestly, stay away from large gatherings, especially if there's individuals in your area that have been confirmed with the virus. But I would not reuse masks at all. I would actually try to not use a mask, and just have that free flow of air pressure. I would make sure that a lot of people they pick around their ears and stuff. You can get stuff in your ear and get infections. I think also there is a homeopathic part of this. Homeopathic, I'm not saying it's a panacea. It's not. I'm telling you, homeopathic remedies for an emergency, like this, is not a panacea. Okay, but homeopathic remedies could boost up your immune system, that if you do get it, you can have more strength, more power to fight it. Okay, if you have a declined immune system, then it's going to be harder to fight this virus. So I believe in, you got to have iodine, you got to have filtered water, and that filtered water has to be at least a 5 filtration system, 5 layer filtration system, not a 3-layer filtration system. So you need iodine to saturate your thyroid. That will help with proper hormonal balance. All right. The filtered water to make sure that you're hydrated, with, you don't have the fluoride, and your thyroid is working right, and your endocrine system. I even wrote a paper on the endocrine system that people can just type up, and it'll give you ssrn.com, and you can just download it. But having a healthy endocrine system is really important. You can get that very simply through iodine supplementation, which is the drops that are under your tongue, and filtered water. Then you want to boost up with that vitamin C. Probably about 500, probably about 5,000 milligrams worth of vitamin C per day, just to keep those, keep your body. But you excrete that regularly, so you don't want to put 5,000 in right away. You want to put like 1,000 in, wait 2 or 3 hours, put another 1,000 in, so you have a steady level in your bloodstream, because you do excrete it through your kidneys pretty rapidly. Drinking lots of water, a minimum 60 ounces a day. I think that you want to suppress inflammation. So having like the turmeric type supplements and doubling that dose than what you would normally take, if if you take turmeric regularly, I would double that amount. There's not really toxicity with turmeric, so it will lower inflammation and boost your immune system, that if it does come in, it will help fight it. All right, so basically the virus it's from a family called coronavirus, and there are different types. Now, this particular strand, the Wuhan strand, seems to strong affinity towards bat SARS virus, which is a coronavirus. There's different mutations, different strands, and you can do these genomic analyses at the NIH. The website's for free. So you can just go to Wikipedia and type in the novel coronavirus, and you can get that link and look at that particular. It's an ID that it starts with MN. So that's the ID code, and it has some numbers on it. And I did an analysis, and I have a video out there that someone can. It shows you how to do the BLAST query in the database at the NIH, and it takes a look at similar organisms that have this RNA. This virus is an RNA type virus. Some viruses have DNA in it, but this particular virus is a single strand RNA virus. And I did this blast search, and bat SARS popped up. The two closest strands that are about in the 80% range was bat SARS. And I go in a lot of detail why I believe that there is a high probability that this was bioengineered. Now, I don't know if it was for bioweapons or if it was for research, but I believe it was bioengineered. And what is interesting, the NIH last night, because I was doing some research last night in the genome of this, someone asked a question on my channel about a sequence for the S protein. And that S protein is what attaches to cells in the lung. the receptors that are in the lung, the S protein cups onto these receptors. So I did this analysis based on this question that came up. And what was interesting, in the database, there are now 4 other strands of Wuhan. So when we were talking, Rex, yesterday, there was only 1 that was in the database. And there has been in the news that there was about 5 strains of Wuhan. Now, what's interesting is you run this data on the new strands that are in the database, okay? They are very, very, very similar. But the strange thing about it, and people need to really pay attention to what I'm saying. I just sit down and really pay attention to what I'm saying here. Okay, this kind of adds another data point on why I think it's a bioweapon or a bioengineered type scenario here. 3 of the strands that have been updated in the database, all right, their nucleotide difference between the reference one that was originally put into the database for Wuhan is at the very end of the genome, and it's all A's. So you have A, T, G, C. Everyone knows their DNA, right? So they added a sequence of A's at the very end. All right. If you have strains of a virus in a natural environment, you will not have it at the end of the genome. They would be maybe 1 or 2 nucleotides all over a 30,000 base pair genome. What's the probability of having a sequence of A's? Then that sequence is about 5 or 8 nucleotides long at the very end. All right. And they so happen to put that at very last in the database. All right. So this is just, something doesn't look right, on this. But that just happened last night that I found. And that was 100% by accident, because I was trying to answer this question that someone wanted me to look at this particular sequence from another SARS virus, and was it in the genome for this Wuhan? And some of the sequence is in the Wuhan, but it's not in the S protein area of the genome. It's actually in the replicase area of the Wuhan strand. Now I'll backtrack so people can understand what I'm saying. The virus is circular, all right? Inside it is an RNA strand, okay? That's the code for it to replicate. The coding has a protein, like a protein coat, and then it has spikes. The spikes is what attaches onto the cells and infects the cell. It's what we call the S protein, okay? Next to that is an M protein, which is the membrane protein, all right? And there are a couple other proteins that are involved, but primarily researchers are focused on the replicase that's in that when the virus gets into the cell, it's using the ribosomes from the infected cell to convert the positive RNA strand to a negative RNA strand, the opposite. All right. The opposite code is what codes the proteins that it needs, not the positive strand. It's the reverse. Okay. So it takes its replicase, reverses it, and then starts creating proteins. Okay. And once that happens, then it starts to package itself by a endoplasmic reticulum. It's an organelle in the cell that's packaged in the endoplasmic reticulum, and then it's transported to what is called a Golgi apparatus, and that Golgi apparatus shuttles it right to the membrane of the cell, and it spits it out. So exocytosis. So it comes in, and it does its thing, and it comes out. Now, what's interesting is that question that came up last night in one of my videos, and I just, was just looking at it. The code is SHC014. If you type that into the NIH database, you'll get the actual code and the protein that gene codes for. It's typically an S protein, but for some reason, I don't know why, but for some reason, that code, around 80% of that code is in the area of the genome that codes for replicase. I don't know what that means, but it's strange because other viruses seem to have this code in a different area of the genome, like around the 23,000 base pair area, while this was moved in to a more closer to the the center of the genome. So where it codes for the replicase. Don't know what that means. I don't know. I mean, people can spend their whole life studying one virus, and I don't have time to do that. But it's strange that the database was updated last night with 4 new strands of Wuhan. We've been told when this outbreak took place that there were 5 strains. Okay. And 3 of the 4 that were added to the database have this multiple A nucleotide tag at the very end of the genome that the original Wuhan strand did not have, which is really strange to me. It could be, there may be some reason, and maybe a virologist can explain it, but it just looks really strange to me. All right. But that's the latest and greatest, from just, monkeying around on the blast search and the NIH database. But I suspect that I think there's strong evidence that this was bioengineered. Well, what's interesting is the government's security council in the United States, their biggest nightmare wasn't nuclear war or anything like that. It was actually It was like a bioweapon. So they view that as the highest level because it's something that you can't control. With nuclear weapons, you can sort of control the location and the blast area and the radiation levels and all that. When you're talking about biological, it could come back to you, right? You release it and it can infect you, right? Unless you have an antidote. Do you want to get scared?
Dude, I'm kind of callous to this.
All right,
it takes a lot.
Let me scare everybody here. All right. As I told you about the multiple A tags on the genome, step back a little bit. Our body creates RNA from our DNA, right? And that RNA is in the nucleus, but for it to transport out, it converts into something called an mRNA, a messenger RNA, and that has some tags on the front of the RNA and the back end of the RNA. Okay, and on the back end of that RNA are multiple repeat. We call it a tag tail. So what is interesting here is when you look at the genomes of these viruses, they are its own genome. It's not a messenger RNA. There's different types of RNA. There is nucleic genomic RNA, a messenger RNA, and a small nuclear RNA. They're all types of RNA. But this particular thing that was loaded into the database, the 3 of them, the 3 new ones, there's a total of 5 of the Wuhan virus. But 3 of them have this tag. it has similarities to a very big messenger RNA. What that means, I don't know, but it's weird.
It would be interesting
because the virus doesn't make messenger RNAs. Our body makes messenger RNAs. The virus codes a negative, a negative strand, and then first it makes its replicase, creates a negative strand to create its proteins, and duplicates the RNA, because it takes the negative strand, copies it, all right, which would turn into a positive strand, repackage, and then spit it out of the cell. Okay, that's how it works. But it's not in the nucleus, and it's not using tagged A's at the tail end, and using these 7G multiple phosphate groups that are at the front end of the 5'. An RNA has a 5' and a 3'. 3' is the tail, 5' is the head. So the head has a 7G. It has a cap, we call a 5' cap. And this tail is this poly A tail, all right, at the 3'. This is weird that it was uploaded into the database with its tail, poly tail. I don't know why, but it's weird that it has similarities to a messenger RNA. Why that is, I don't know. Is someone trying to say something? Is it just an artifact during the sequencing? But when you would think that they took the time to wait to put it into the database, you would think that they would have made sure it was right. And they did it 3 times wrong.